The Valve Index 2 is a highly anticipated VR headset. I'm pretty sure anyone with a half a brain could tell you what it's about. It's a really well-made headset by the company Valve, and it's probably one of the greatest things I've ever laid eyes on. While not a personal VR headset user, I have about 5 friends who have variations of the Oculuses, and 2 of which make up the Valve Index users. And today I'd like to discuss what I'd like to see out of the Valve Index 2 as someone who's more of an outsider looking in. Something I think is a big point of contention, especially about the Valve Index, is the price. If you didn't know, it was about $1,000 at launch, pre-tax, which is crazy. It included everything, but the fact that you needed a decently mid-range PC really held it back, especially from a wider appeal. This is why I think it's a very important point that they should fix the pricing. Now, as someone who isn't exactly broke, I do think it should stay relatively pricey, considering, like I said, it's one of the greatest headsets out there, visually and gaming-wise. But it is very important to note, $1,000 is a lot. The type of person to give a problem and not give back a solution. So some fair price ranges, I would feel, would be mostly about around, I want to say, $700, $800. Well, that still is a lot. Keeping the quality and especially the visuals, as I've mentioned, around where they are right now, I think would greatly improve the appeal while still having the same core experience that the Valve Index offers. While I've been glazing the Valve Index a lot recently, especially in this video, I do think a big issue that everyone who's ever touched it will admit is the base station issue. If you don't know, it's these 2 kind of cameras you'll have set up around where you're going to be using the headset that track the headset, and they are so annoying. I can guarantee you that. The main point of contention is not really being able to set them up properly sometimes. You'll have blind spots, and even if you don't, it's still annoying, and they take up either desk space or you have to mount them to a wall, which is very infuriating. But the real issue comes when you face the fact that you can do that with a gyroscope. The Oculus brand has been doing that since forever, and while the tracking is good, I can't really blame them. The tracking is effective, it's great, but like I've previously stated, the gyroscope is far superior, and I think including that in the model would be very important. But in 1 second, I will kind of ruin that claim for you. This is something that not only affects your mother, but also the Valve Index. It's slightly heavy. Prolonged gaming sessions do kind of put some strain on the top of your head especially. Now, there are definitely products that balance this. I know there's some by Kiwi Design, I believe, that really, really help, according to my friend who uses it very frequently. Only heard good things about the company as well. Not sponsored. But it is crucial to me that it is a little heavy. I don't think this ruins my claim about, having a gyroscope, because it really isn't too weighty, but keeping that display is very important. If you see in a video, or even just me talking about it, it is a straight up beautiful vision that you will never experience until you put the headset on and look. It is straight up amazing. I can't describe it any other way. If you've ever seen like one of those really high-end monitors, like we're talking 240 hertz, like freaking OLED screen and everything, it is like that strapped to your face. It is so amazing. But the weight might be an issue there, which is why I want to call into effect that I think the gyroscope might be worth sacrificing that. The base stations are really holding back overall, again, the appeal of not only the headset, but its functionality. While we're on the topic of things Oculus did better, I believe something specific is functioning without a PC. Now, if you don't know, that $1,000 is just the headset, base stations, controllers. Nothing else. It's not going to work standalone. You need a computer like I have right here to actually make it operate, which is a little crazy, in my opinion. Now, I understand, like I said, like that display and everything works a lot, but having to have like I said, mid-range computer just to be able to play something you spent thousands of dollars on and then pay more for games, if you don't count Half-Life Alyx, which comes with it, is kind of annoying. Now, I'm not saying I just want a standalone headset. I don't want that. I think you could go an Oculus route in some way by having it function. We have things like the Steam Deck and Steam OS that I think could be adapted into a VR kind of format while still working with a computer if you want something like a boost in FPS, a boost in graphics, anything like that, without being so impactful. And I really think that would help overall, like I said, the appeal, which is something I think a company like Steam could really use, because without gamers, they don't really have a brand outside of that. I mean, like, what, you can download Wallpaper Engine off Steam and then never game or buy anything else? Kind of dumb. So having something like that, I think, would widen everything overall, just for the purchasing of the headset, and more companies maybe going, hey, we can make software for this, which helps every user in that experience. While we don't know for sure if this Valve Index 2 is coming out, we do know it is in the works, thanks to leakers. Now, I'm not one to be qualified to talk anything about that, so I'll link a well-made video down below, probably in the comments for you guys to look at. But the main issue is the release date. Summer 2025 of this year, obviously. For me. I think there'll be more of a ramp up, especially since we haven't seen anything official as of now, when this is posted, whenever. I don't know. But overall, I don't think it will release by then. I think it'll be more of a build up into the next year almost. Maybe not exactly next year, but very close, I would say. Because I do not feel confident that a company that has not marketed this yet will just drop it that summer, especially a company like Valve, which is known for engaging in the community. I would be very worried that they haven't released anything now, like something like an advertisement or even just like a tease, like a trailer or something. But maybe they don't want to invest in that, which is fair, but I really think it's going to be a lot later than a lot of people assume. As you've heard me say about 507 times, depending on who's counting, I do think a more market appeal is needed for the Valve Index 2. Now, that's not just because of how small the actual VR community is. If you're going to look at things like Steam about how many people are actually using VR, it isn't a lot for a, frankly, pretty big market, in my opinion. So I think overall, is there a need for it? Absolutely. Something more high-end like this is needed, in my opinion. And people shouldn't be resorting to literally one headset and some HPC, or however you say it, HPC maybe, products that really are a bit more untrustworthy than something like Steam, which has had this for a while now, and I think it would really deserve a sequel in the style of that headset. And it does feel a little untapped, if that makes sense. It's definitely not something I would recommend as a first buy. The Valve Index now is not a good first buy. But having that in the market as something you could build up to, I think would be great, especially just for how VR gaming is looked at. It's VR chat, it's Gorilla Tag, it's a lot more of these child kind of games, when stuff like Ghosts of Tabor, things like Contractors Showdown and Contractors in general are a lot more brutal. Other games like one of the island games, I forget the name of, I'll put it up on screen, is really well made and they're really realistic. So having something that's more adult or teenager centered, I think would give more people the chance to get into VR. I feel as if I've covered most of my gripes personally. If you guys have any other grievances you want to air, do that in comments. Any questions in comments. Anything I got wrong in comments. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. And if you continue liking the channel, like, subscribe, do all the bullshit you know to do. Have a great day.